So this is A Few Good Fights. I'm your host Rob, and I am joined, as always, by Sean, young Sean Taylor.
Hello, my babies. How is everyone?
I like that one. I'm good, Sean, thanks. And this week, it's UFC 248 Fallout Week, and there was a fucking phenomenal fight on the weekend. Yoel Romero against Israel Adesanya.
It was a belt on.
I'm only joking. That was a fight, and we're going to talk about that one, but I really want to talk about that co-main event, which is probably the best female fight in women's history, or women's MMA history, and maybe just one of the better fights we've seen in a long, long time.
It's also Cheltenham week, so happy punting.
Oh yeah, happy punting. Thanks, Sean. I might. Darren Till might have a date in Dublin.
Baby.
This flew under the radar, and Khabib and Ferguson had their press conference last week.
It was quite weird.
It was quite weird, and we're going to break it down and talk about it. And also, UFC San Diego might have Poirier, Gaethje and Sandhagen Cruz.
That's a sick one.
That's a sick one. Let's get sick. Okay, so this is the big MMA news, and UFC 248 went down last weekend in Las Vegas. It featured 2 title fights and no new champions, but the fights were kind of close. So I want to talk about both of them. Let's first talk about this main event, Sean, because this is very controversial.
Did you have it close?
No, I did not. Not the main event. No, not the main event. But the second one was close. The co-main event was.
Sorry, go on, Rob. I interrupted you rudely.
No problem. It's okay. Let's talk about this main event. You don't think it was close, but what was your thoughts on the fight as a whole? Did you enjoy it?
I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the best fight. I'm not going to be going out of my way to rewatch it on Fight Pass. It's not the worst fight I've seen. It wasn't Lewis Ngannou type stuff. It was a chess match. I just find Izzy an interesting character to watch, just given his striking style around the feints and stuff. We kind of said this fight had the potential to be like this.
Yeah.
The only thing that does surprise me, and I've said it a few times, I'm surprised that Yoel didn't push it a bit more as the fight was coming to a close towards the 4th and 5th round. It's like, you need a knockout here.
Yeah, like it seemed to be out of his hands at a certain point.
I don't know whether he thought he was up on the cards or not, but maybe his corner have to be like, come on. That's the only thing that surprised me, really. Did I enjoy it? It was grand.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the same as you. Like, I don't think it was an exciting fight.
No.
By any means.
Stretch of the imagination.
No, definitely not exciting. But like the first round and the first couple of rounds, I was excited in the sense that I thought something was going to happen. And I was listening to the Athletic podcast with Sean Al-Shatti and Chuck Mindenhall, a good friend of the show. And Sean was basically saying that he enjoyed the first 4 rounds of the fight because he was like, something's going to happen. Something big is going to happen. And everything that happened in them first 4 rounds then, is accounted for, But nothing happened, unfortunately. And, I don't know who you should blame. I think both guys should be blamed. But I don't think blame is the right word because I just think it's part of their style. We spoke about
styles make fights. It's a phrase that's said all the time. And when Izzy didn't call Yoel Romero out so he could go and go at him and come forward and push him. He called him out because he thought it was a guy he could get some respect by having on his record and by doing this to him.
Yeah. Did that backfire on him now? This is actually one talking point.
Yeah, for me it doesn't take away anything from Izzy. It doesn't add a whole pile in the end in the way it turned out, but it doesn't take away. I'm not looking at him as a boring guy, as people are saying now. I think it's just the way the fight played out. I
agree. I don't think it takes anything away. I just don't think he maybe got as much as he could have with a finish. Now, Yoel Romero is very hard to finish. Has he been finished in his career? I don't think he has.
I don't believe so.
There he has, once. A KO against Rafael Cavalcante in fucking 2011.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. Yoel Romero is difficult to finish. That wasn't going to be a likelihood, I don't think. But, I thought the fight was fine. It was boring, but I think what we learned from it is that if you put somebody in there who won't be aggressive against Adesanya, something like this might happen.
Yep.
And it was quite reminiscent for me of the Damian Maia fight with Anderson Silva, where I've
seen this comparison a lot.
Yeah, it was so controversial. Now, it was different in the sense that Anderson Silva seemed not to be even trying, which I think Israel Adesanya was actually trying here. Like, if you watch this fight and the amount of feints that he threw and the amount of opportunities he was trying to make open, I don't think you can argue that he wasn't doing anything. I think the problem was Yoel Romero was so defensive, and I guess you have to give him credit for being, defensive in this, and not getting hit as much. But I think with Anderson, he just was not trying, whereas Israel just could not get anything off in this one.
Yeah, there's not a whole pile to say about the fight, really. For me, Adesanya done more than enough to win the fight. Yoel just did not do anything for me to win the fight.
Yeah.
And it's one that you could kind of score as a whole.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Jimmy Smith, funny enough, he actually gave the fight to Yoel Romero.
Did
he thought Yoel just landed the better shots. Adesanya was just peppering him up, which I guess fair enough. I didn't see it that way, but the big news,
and all that.
the big news coming from this is who does Adesanya fight next, and all roads seem to be pointing towards
it was always
Paulo
going to be Costa.
Funny enough, Dana White actually said that he regrets actually making this fight, saying that maybe we should have waited for Costa. I disagree. I think we don't know when Costa's going to be available anyway. So,
I think the only reason they made it was because Izzy asked for it as well.
I agree. Yeah. And to be honest, from the people who were available, it was the right fight to make. So it is what it is. Now, Paulo Costa seems to be next. Sean, silly question, but is that the right fight?
Yes, Robert. It is. Yeah, it's totally the right fight.
Yeah.
Let's get
it. And who do you think wins?
I don't know. I think it's a hell of a fight. I think we've seen in the fights where someone does come forward that you get an exciting fight. Gastelum, Whittaker. So I think Dana's right. He said it's going to be a war, and I would expect that. Yeah. He
also said, funny enough, I was listening to an interview with him before the fight, and he said this was going to be a war. It's going to be an amazing fight. And
well, that's promoter speak.
Unfortunately, it didn't turn out this way.
It's just I happen to agree with him this time.
Yeah. But yeah, I think absolutely Paulo Costa is the next guy, and I think it has all the makings of a phenomenal fight. I really do. And I'm very excited to talk about it once it hopefully gets made. But let's talk about this co-main event, because this was probably the best fight in women's MMA history. I'd say definitely the best fight in women's MMA history, and up there with the best fight
it's a Hall of Fame fight.
Hall of Fame fight. Both girls were different people at the end of the fight, physically and probably mentally. One thing that caught my eye at the end was, of course, it was
the
close.
size of Joanna's head.
Yes, of course that caught my eye. But I just thought in their demeanour was that usually with these really close fights, you get the two guys or girls immediately celebrate after the fight ends, because they want to maybe show the judges, look, I'm the winner, make sure you give this round to me. But what I saw from these two girls was, fuck, that was tough, because they both went back to their corners immediately looking for treatment, I guess physically and emotionally, because that was a roller coaster.
Yeah, I think I'm interested to see how both look in the next few fights, because we've spoken about it before. I think this is one of those fights where a little bit of their soul is left in the octagon after that.
Yes.
That's one of those fights that takes some years off your career. It's one that down the stretch, if they have to go into a fight like that again, there isn't necessarily so much in the tank.
No.
And I think it's one where you realise how much they actually put on the line every time they step in there. But damn, what a fight.
Yeah, it's a
special fight.
Special fight. Of course, Joanna had that huge hematoma, which seemed to develop, I think it was late 2 or maybe early 3 or somewhere around there. I can't remember exactly when it was.
It was an elbow, I think, wasn't it?
I think it was an elbow, yeah.
Yeah, Zhang played with that hematoma like it was Play-Doh, as in she moulded it around Joanna's head, because it started out, say, around here or something, and then her head was like this, and it was sick.
I want to play this video real quick, Sean. You don't have it there, but I'm going to put it in afterwards, and you've seen it. It was a Dr. Brian Sutterer. He's on YouTube. There's a link below. So all credit to this video. Don't copyright the video or take this down, because just a little clip.
Big up, man.
He explains what exactly the hematoma is, how it develops, and if it's actually very, very dangerous. So let's watch this really quick and then we'll come back.
So why does this happen on the forehead? Why does this get to look like such a severe, nasty hematoma? We have to think all about the anatomy around the forehead, particularly the blood vessels and how thin the skin by the forehead is. It's the perfect storm for excessive bleeding, like we see with a lot of UFC fighters, as well as excessive swelling. What happens when you take these types of punches to the forehead are those blood vessels get pinched and smashed between the solid background of the forehead with the skull and the fighter's fist that's making contact. When those blood vessels tear open, that's what causes that hematoma, that blood, and often other kind of fluid to accumulate within that space and just eventually get this big goose egg looking hematoma. The main reason I would think this could stop a fight is if the swelling gets so bad that the fighter's eye gets swollen shut to where they can't protect themselves, and thankfully that wasn't the case here with Joanna. Really, if it's just the hematoma, there shouldn't be any long-term damage here. So yeah, pretty scary, kind of terrible looking sort of injury, but really something that looks a lot worse than it truly is, as long as there's no underlying fractures.
So it looks like there's no long-term damage, at least with the hematoma now. She did have a broken nose, it seemed, as well. She was pretty messed up. How much longer do you see Joanna staying around after this? And she's been in some wars. I mean, like, I don't want to write her off completely because I think she almost won that fight.
Arguably did win the fight. But like, that has to take so much time off your career. So much time. Yeah, I think we'll be seeing the minimum 6 month no contact suspension for her.
Yeah.
Look, she'll probably be around another while. Should she be is another question. I don't know. She
didn't get knocked out. She didn't get knocked out. That's the thing.
She might have been better off getting knocked out. Yeah, I don't know. She'll probably will. There's still some fun matchups to be there for her.
Absolutely.
So, like, that division is very much, a lot of people have beat a lot of people, so there's still a lot of fun matchups there. I don't know. That one takes some years off your career.
If the timing works out, which is a big problem here because they're both probably going to get some suspensions, as you mentioned, does the immediate rematch make sense? It was so close, but there is a lot of fighters in this division looking for a fight against Weili Zhang.
Yeah, I think I said to you already, I'd like to see the rematch.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe straight away. It depends who's there. Like, who's next in line, really?
Rose or Andrade if they win, I guess.
Rose is coming off a loss, isn't she?
Yeah, but if she wins, I mean...
Yeah, if Rose gets a win,
it's exciting. And then also you have... I don't think they'll do Andrade against Weili Zhang anyway. But then you have Tatiana Suarez, but she seems to have some neck problems, so who knows what happens there. Yeah, but I wouldn't be against it. I don't think it's the right thing to happen. And also, I'm like, oh, geez, I don't really want to see them girls get beat up like that again. Like, that's... I hope they got paid a lot of money.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, it wouldn't be against immediate rematch, to be honest.
No, me neither. I don't want to talk about too many other fights on this card, but is there anything that stands out? There was one knockout that stood out. Dariush. On
the verge of getting knocked out and then comes back and knocks the mouth guard.
Oh my God.
That's always quite... like, it sticks in your mind when the mouth guard goes flying.
Yeah, because the guy is out unconscious. That was beautiful. And also Sean O'Malley came back and had a beautiful win. Really exciting guy, Sean O'Malley. Big fan.
Yeah, just a fun guy, isn't he?
Yeah, really, really fun guy. Anyway, there was a press conference on before the fight. It was Tony Ferguson and Khabib Nurmagomedov. Now, that fight happens very soon, so I want to keep the talk.
Hopefully, anyway.
Yeah, Sean, stop it. That fight happens very soon because it will happen, and I want to talk about that when it gets closer. But I want to talk about the promotion for the fight, the press conference, and kind of how you're feeling and how I'm feeling about these press conferences, because they have a lot of them, and I don't know. For me, they don't seem very special. They shouldn't feel special. They're just, to get some quotes out there and get some...
The questions are dirt.
They're terrible, yeah. I also, I think maybe not have so many fans at them because I don't know, it's a bit of a mess anyway. But what's your thoughts on Tony Ferguson as a character? Because, I think a lot of people really enjoy him and really enjoy kind of the stuff that he says, even though maybe it isn't very coherent. But I also felt in this press conference specifically, there was a bit of backlash to his, I don't know if you want to call it a character because I think it's just him, but a bit of backlash to him, with the cringe. He's almost like a Henry Cejudo at this point with the cringe. But how do you feel about Tony Ferguson in this sense? Do you mind it? Do you like it?
Yeah, with Cejudo it's a bit different, I think, because he's putting on this cringe act. Yeah, for me, it's a bit... With Tony, I expect nothing less, really. Yeah. I mean, he came out with a baseball, fucking gloves on him, and he's talking about, take your glasses off, and he's no glasses on him.
No glasses on, yeah.
I expect nothing less with Tony, really.
Yeah.
I expect him to be talking to someone when there's no one there. Anything weird Tony does, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Mr. Tinfoil Hat Man. So, it doesn't surprise me, really.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why we like him, whereas with Cejudo, it is a character, so it's different.
Does it? This is probably a not a bad question, but I don't know. We don't want to play armchair psychiatrist, if that's a phrase. But remember all the stuff that happened with Tony Ferguson a while ago with the people talking to him on the walls and all this and stuff. If you haven't heard what this was, just go back and Google it. Tony Ferguson talking to walls. But like, he's clear, like there's clearly something, you know, not wired correctly in his brain. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Maybe he's a strange guy.
Yeah, I think the thing that is probably, I don't want to phrase this in a bad way. The thing that probably makes him a little bit weird as a person, like weird I say, is probably what makes him as great as he is in the octagon.
I agree.
I think this is quite a general thing with fighters, as in the thing that makes them great at what they do is probably detracting from something else that they do in life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get what
it
you
kind of
mean,
has to be that way.
Yeah.
You can't be a great person and go in and kick fuck out of someone in an octagon. You just can't. The things are they're not compatible really.
Yeah.
The things that make you great in the octagon can't make you a great person.
Yeah.
Because you have to be selfish, you have to be ruthless, and you have to have that dog in you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's more of a general thing, but I think the point is valid to Tony.
No,
in this case.
I do. I think you have to be wired differently.
Yeah. You have to have a little bit of crazy in you.
A little bit of crazy, and
I mean that in a good sense.
Yeah, and you have to be like so self-confident. It's unbelievable.
You have to be utterly deluded.
Exactly.
Really.
Like if, for example, go watch Joanna versus Weili Zhang, and for you to say I can go through that and I can win in that kind of battle, you have to be wired differently.
Yeah.
But I do think when you look at Tony Ferguson, he's wired so differently. Yeah. And I think that's why Khabib looks at him and doesn't really know how to deal with him. Like, you know, trash talk wise, because like Conor's different. Conor is like similar to Cejudo. It's not an act, but it's kind of an act. But I think Khabib knows he's just talking trash, where Tony Ferguson's talking...
It's weird, man.
He's talking about stuff that like only he understands. Yeah. Because nobody else does.
Yeah, in his head, he's definitely like, oh, that was a banger, that one. In his head, he's like, oh, that was a banger. And I got him there.
I got him. And he's probably showing his mates and he's like, look at that. And they're like, oh, yeah, Tony.
All right,
that was
Sound
hilarious. Yeah, but he just didn't have glasses on, Tony. I don't get it. But it's the glasses of the mind, man.
Yeah.
Strange.
It's Tony.
Put Tony Ferguson and Eddie Bravo and Alex Jones
let him smoke some
on
weed
a JRE podcast. And so I don't want to talk about the fight, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. Let us know in the comments below. What was your thoughts on this press conference? Because
I don't enjoy the press conferences anymore.
Yeah, there was
they're a waste of time, really. As in, it's a load of journals asking the most basic questions to get the most basic sound bites. I'll write up the script of a press conference for you, and I'll give you the exact same answers every time.
I'd love to do that exercise.
Yeah. For me, the media days are more interesting, where the guys actually spend 15 minutes talking to a fighter. Not necessarily that you get that much different sound bites, but you do. Yeah. They're more interesting, I think, generally. Yeah,
and there's so many closed questions asked, and what I mean by that is like, you know, how are you feeling for this camp?
Great, yeah.
Like, we know how he feels. Like, he's going to say it's great, best camp ever.
This is what you get with this short form content for sound bites.
Exactly.
For me, I rather watch the long form interviews with guys.
I agree.
Where they actually get to talk.
And to be fair, these press conferences aren't for us. They're for casuals.
They're for promotional effects.
Exactly. So. Edson Barboza, did you see this? Edson Barboza has requested his release from the UFC. He says it's time to move on. At first, when I saw this, I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's kind of surprising. And the more I thought about it, and I think you might agree with me, I get it. I completely get it.
Do you want to explain it?
Yeah, so for me, we spoke about this last week. It's mostly to do with fighter pay, but also I think it's to do with longevity. In the UFC, if you look at the opposition that Edson Barboza has faced, and I'll try to get it up now in a minute when you give your thoughts on it, it's a murderer's row. An absolute murderer's row, and Edson Barboza has taken so much damage over the years. It's not sustainable for much longer.
Yeah,
Edson Barboza could go out and make as much money, probably more money, including sponsorships, if he goes to Bellator
for easier fights,
not getting beat up as much. You know, look after that brain a little bit more, or could go to PFL, have one good run in one of those seasons, and potentially win $1 million. I think this makes all the sense in the world, and to be honest, I hope the UFC realise that too, and I hope the UFC grant him his release, because that guy has given so much to the UFC and to us. Like, there's so many fights that we've watched with Edson Barboza where he was absolutely mauled and did not give up.
Yeah,
he deserves a release if he wants one, and I hope he goes out there and gets a shit ton of money, retires, and you know, looks after himself.
Yeah, for me at this stage of his career, it's about just not been held up inactive. And I also believe there's something, if you come to the end of your contract and they're not renewing it, I believe there's like a minimum release fee. Whereas if he can get released early, he might get a bit more than that, more close to his value, if you know what I mean. So it's more in the UFC's interest to let him run down his contract and give him the minimum release fee. He's trying to put a bit of pressure on them, I assume. I think it was John Nash tweeted something like that. Check his account out, and it'll be there in more detail than I can give you offhand. But yeah, at this stage, he just doesn't want to be held up, and he wants to be able to make as much money as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So yeah.
100%. It makes all the sense in the world. Here's who Edson Barboza fought over the last while. Listen to this. So, his last 5 fights. Khabib Nurmagomedov got mauled, obviously. Kevin Lee got beaten. Dan Hooker, he actually won that fight with a body punch. Justin Gaethje lost by KO. And then Paul Felder in a really hard fight. That's your last 5. And I think he's making 75k to show, 75k to win. Plus probably 20 grand the bonus, maybe. I don't know. In your sponsorship thing.
Tough.
That is torture. Now look at the guys who are in the PFL, for example, at lightweight. You have Olivier Aubin Mercier, Johnny Case, and then, to be honest, 2 guys I don't really know that much. So, like, Edson Barboza is licking his lips.
It's the same money plus sponsorship money.
Yeah. And I think he deserves it.
Yeah. He's at the stage of his career right off into the sunset, man. Make some money. Yeah.
But talking about something which is more dangerous, Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker is potentially will happen. It's in the works for UFC San Diego for the main event. That is UFC Fight Night 175, and that should go down around May 16th, Sean. Is this the right fight for these guys?
Absolutely. Damn. Hook it. Get it? Hook it.
Bad joke.
To my veins.
Yeah.
That is a hell of a fight. I'm all for that. All aboard that train. Choo choo, motherfuckers. See you all on Fight Night. I think that's a hell of a fight.
Yeah. My immediate thoughts, I love the fight, but my immediate thoughts when I saw that was, my man, Dustin Poirier, and my man, Dan Hooker, do not like easy fights.
Gangsters.
They are absolute gangsters. Oh, like if you're talking about people fighting crazy and amazing people, just look at these 2 guys and look what fights they want.
Look at Dustin Poirier's last 5, if we're talking about last 5 opponents. Gangsters, man.
You have Anthony Pettis, Justin Gaethje, Eddie Alvarez, Max Holloway, Khabib Nurmagomedov, and now potentially Dan Hooker.
Damn. Yeah, hell of a fight. I don't know what to say about it really, as in see on Fight Night.
Yeah, see on Fight Night.
Great fight. Great matchmaking really, I think.
May. So what's that? That's 2 months away. And Dan Hooker went through that crazy war with Paul Felder. That seems
these guys are different gravy, man.
These guys are crazy. These Dan Hooker.
Where is it on?
San Diego, did I say?
I don't know.
I think I said San Diego. Go back.
That's
Robert.
one I might stay up for.
San Diego, yeah. It's going to be a fight night. It's going to be a main event. It's going to be 5 rounds. Oh my God.
Oh, violence. Utter violence.
Oh, it's mad how we can switch from, Edson Barboza deserves to not get beat up to violence.
Yeah, we're such sick bastards.
We are. We're sorry.
We're like, oh yeah, go look after your brain a bit more.
Yeah, and then,
give me 5 rounds of that though.
Yeah.
Can I have a side of look after your brain, please, along with 5 rounds of utter fucking brain damage, please?
A side of look after your brain. Lovely. Have it with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Yeah. A nice bit of CTE.
Amanda Nunes is going to defend her featherweight title against Felicia Spencer at UFC 250. Dana White said it wasn't actually done yet, but that's the fight they're looking for.
That time of the year to whip out that belt, innit?
Yeah, it is.
Just so it's valid to have it on the website as a belt.
Exactly, just so it's viable. And let's get a co-main event or a main event in here.
That's a co-main.
It's a co-main event. 250. That's I'll get it now in a minute. But thoughts, Sean?
Grand, yeah. Yeah, cool.
That's it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Who are you picking?
Amanda.
Yeah. That's
pretty easy, really.
Yeah, that's Henry Cejudo, Jose Aldo, and that goes down in Brazil, which makes sense.
Is Henry the main event on that?
Yeah, I'd say be Aldo and
because Aldo Brazilian, yeah.
Yeah, and Amanda Nunes is a Brazilian as well, so it makes sense. I mean, we spoke about this. You kind of said that. Did you say that you thought it should have been what's her face, Megan Anderson?
Yeah, you can give it to whoever the fuck you want in that division. As in, you're not. It's Amanda Nunes v X is what it is.
Yeah.
So
X this time is gonna be.
Yeah.
And watch Felicia Spencer's gonna win.
I disagree, Robert.
I disagree, but it's one of them.
Yeah.
It's one of them.
It's going to be the one that you don't see coming.
Yeah. So. Here's one that snuck up on me, right? Dana White came out and said that Darren
I haven't
Till...
seen this anymore.
I know, either have I. Apart from in Dana White's press conference, he was asked, will Darren Till fight in Dublin? And he was like, yeah, probably. So it looks like Darren Till is going to probably fight in Dublin, which is going to be the main event, right?
Deadly for a main event, because we said this card could be stinking.
Yeah.
That's at the time we didn't really think the timelines would match up, to be honest. That's why we didn't think Till was an option. If Till is fighting in Dublin, that's a fucking cracking main event, to be honest.
So that's August, right? So we're in March. So there's still some time away. But like 3-month camp, I mean, it's not going to be 3 months, but the fight hasn't been signed.
He'll have a 10-week camp anyway.
Yeah, he'll have plenty of time. What makes sense? It's going to be the main event. It can't not be the main event unless they have some other big superstar on the card like Conor McGregor. Shut up.
Obviously, against Cannonier, obviously the main event.
Yeah, it's going to be Cannonier. Do you think so?
Yeah, I think so. And maybe Felder on the co-main.
Man, Jesus Christ,
Gunny's going to be on the main card.
If that happens, we were absolutely wrong. This card is banging.
Fair play to the UFC. They do need to come in with a banger in Europe because let's be honest, these European cards are a bit shit sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they are shit. And interestingly enough, if Darren Till fights on it against Jared Cannonier, that is likely a number 1 contender fight.
Big time,
to fight Israel Adesanya.
100%.
That's a big fight.
Yeah, because Costa's next, and so they'll probably do that fight.
Yeah.
What was it, July 11th they've said for that?
Or how about Darren Till versus Yoel Romero? so Darren Till can talk about how afraid he is.
Jesus Christ, yeah. Don't think that fight makes sense for Yoel.
No.
He lost 4 out of his last 5 now or something?
Coming off a title fight though.
I know, yeah. I think the Cannonier one makes the most sense.
I agree.
Do that. Izzy and Costa July 11th International Fight Week. Till a month later, back end of the year, then you're looking at Izzy versus the winner of that.
Yeah, I like it.
Matchmaking with Sean.
With a little side of CTE. Let's talk about this card in the weekend, Sean. It's UFC fighting.
I always forget there's a card on. I didn't even see this one promoted anyway. I follow MMA pages on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and I haven't seen a bit of promotion for this fight.
Well, let's talk about it. It's UFC Fight Night Brasilia. It's a good main event. It's Kevin Lee against Charles Oliveira. Sean, I know you've done so much research on this main event, and I know you were dying to talk about it.
Yeah.
I tell. So I'm going to throw it to you first. Actually, no, I'll take it first. It's Kevin Lee against Charles Oliveira. I really like this fight. I think this is a
big
really,
fan
really
of it when
good
it was
fight.
announced.
Yeah, when it was announced.
Yeah,
I
remember it being announced and thinking, oh, violence.
Yeah.
I like it. And then, it just sneaks up on you because it's fucking stuck in amongst 12 other cards that are coming up.
That's the problem. I mean, there's so many cards on, it's hard to keep track, even when you're following MMA as fucking closely as we are.
Yeah. But Jesus. Really good matchmaking, really fun fight.
Really fun fight. And two guys who, I mean, they have similar career trajectories, right? Charles Oliveira, when he came up, everyone was like, man, this guy is a wizard. He could probably fight for a title, and he was just very inconsistent. And the same thing kind of happened with Kevin Lee.
Kevin Lee's the guy who might be Khabib.
I know, that was the talk, wasn't it? That was the talk of the Motown
Phenom.
Get it?
Yeah.
That joke. But Kevin Lee lost 2 in a row, went up, had a little experiment at 170, which I still think he should be fighting at. Came back down, looked fine weighing in. I think.
Pretty good.
He didn't look fine weighing in. He looked terrible weighing in, but he looked good in the fight. Yep. But it was also early. So he beat Gregor Gillespie by a fucking...
He did also look like he had a staff.
He did look like, again, he looked like a staff. My fucking hell. So I don't think the weight cut issue or even the weight cut discussion about Kevin Lee is over. I think we still have to talk about that going into this fight.
It's only going to get worse as he gets older as well.
It is. It's going to get worse. So I think that's still on the table. Now, Charles Oliveira has gone on a under-the-radar win streak because he was very inconsistent for so long. Now listen to this. Clay Guida, Chagos, Jim Miller, Tamor, Lentz, Gordon, and then a grappling bout. So he's on a big win streak.
There's some pretty solid 155ers.
There's some solid names in there. And now you have Kevin Lee. But can he beat Kevin Lee? Sean?
Yeah, he can.
I just laid you up with that one.
I know, yeah. I think Lee gets it done here.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I just think he's all round better, to be honest.
Yeah.
Even with the weight cut. The longer it goes, the more you would favour Oliveira.
Yeah.
As always, just the weight cut isn't going to do Lee any advantages or any favours. So, yeah, I like Lee, but yeah, Oliveira is very much a live underdog in this one for me.
Yeah. Can you get the odds up there while we're talking? Yeah, I would fancy Lee, I think. I mean, I think Lee has the wrestling to keep it on the feet. Now, Charles Oliveira has become a much better striker than he used to be. And he's actually quite dangerous up there now. Like, remember that Jared Gordon fight? That was beautiful. But even like those names that I listed off that Charles Oliveira beat, some good names in there, really good names. In particular, Jim Miller, because Jim Miller has looked very good lately, I thought, at least in his last couple of fights. And I think that's a good win. But like, if you actually look at who Kevin Lee has been fighting, I think he has the better names on his resume and he's beaten the better guys. But I still have a problem with that weight cut.
100%. So the earlier the better for him.
The earlier the better. And also, Charles Oliveira seems to get hurt to the body a lot. I'd like to see Kevin Lee go to the body, and he has a beautiful kick to the body, Kevin Lee. So I'm going to say Kevin Lee wins, and I'm going to say it's body work that he wins by.
Yeah, 8-11 on Kevin Lee and 11-10 on Oliveira.
He's quite. That's a live underdog.
Yeah,
though.
I think he's very live underdog.
Yeah.
I'd be quite happy to take either of those, to be honest. But yeah, I'd fancy Lee.
Yeah, me too.
Some other decent fights in the card.
Yeah.
Rob. There's some decent names on the card.
There is.
Of all. Do you want to pick out some?
Yes, Damien Moya, Gilbert Burns. So this is Gilbert Burns. This is the grappler trying to maybe take the best grappler, Brazilian grappler in the UFC off Damien Moya. I like that fight. Quick pick. Gilbert Burns probably. I love Damien Moya.
He's a heavy enough favourite.
Yeah, Moicano against Hasdovich. Hasdovich has been good, but this is 55 for Moicano. Is this his first fight at 55? Moicano? I
believe
think it might
so,
be.
yes.
I'd like to see Moicano win. I think he was a very good prospect, and the weight cut was killing him. We'll see what happens there. What jumps out to you? I think I can see one.
Yeah, I'm looking at Jussier Famigo and Brandon Moreno.
Nice.
Johnny Walker and Nikita Krylov, and also two others. Francisco Trinaldo, John McDessie.
That's fun.
And also Elizu Zaleski dos Santos against Alexei Kunchenko.
Yeah.
Jesus, that was a nightmare to talk to.
Kunchenko is
but it is actually quite a good fight night.
It is. It's a very good fight night. There's some really good fights on this one. Big story going into it. Johnny Walker. Of course, everyone was like, this guy is going to be the guy to beat John Jones. Didn't get it done. Now he's with a really good camp. Let's see what happens. He's with TriStar.
Sometimes you get these raw talents and they need to be not kept on a leash, because the reason they're raw talents is because
they need to be like reeled in a little bit.
A little bit. You need to train them to know when to go off the leash better. Yeah. Because if you don't, they just want to be always off the leash. Yeah. So I think Johnny Walker with some more discipline in his game could be a very interesting prospect. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. Cool.
There's a few other little bits of news I want to just really reel through. But I want you to get a picture up, Sean. There's a picture, a link there. It's something to do with Bellator. Nice. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Because I need to show this, right? So
this is great promotion from Bellator.
Hilarious. But anyway, there's a card this weekend. It's Pitbull against Carvalho. Pedro Carvalho from SBG getting a title fight in the first round of the tournament. But his brother, not his brother, Pitbull's brother.
So do you want to see
Patricio's brother?
Yeah, what you're going to see now is how the new way of announcing fights. Don't mind social media. Don't mind like press conferences. This is how you announce fights.
This is how you do it.
At a bus garage in Dublin. Yeah? This is how you announce fights. Well done, Scott Coker. You announce fights at bus garages in Dublin.
This one is one of the funniest things ever. So some guy on Twitter, what's his name? You can see there, Sam Grimes.
Yeah. He tweeted Pete Carroll.
He tweeted Pete Carroll and Niall McGrath and a few other people on Twitter, obviously, and said, "Oh, look, this is a great fight." And then Pete was like, "This hasn't been announced yet, has it?" He saw this picture in Dublin at a bus stop with Peter Queally against Patricky Pitbull, main event in Bellator Dublin. So this is how you announce fights now.
It's funny as well because Pedro Carvalho replied to Pete with the emoji. It was like the shish emoji. So he obviously knew.
He obviously knew. But very funny. That's some way to...
Classic Bellator.
But then it looks like they've actually announced it now.
They have since announced it.
Yeah, so some bad
the plan
timing.
obviously was for it not to be seen and announce it and already have the posters up. I mean, it's not really social media these days.
I know, it's unbelievable.
So,
so funny. Anyway, Ion Kutalaba.
I assume that's going to be the main event in the next Dublin card.
I assume so.
They are the kind of main events you should be pushing with these fights, in my opinion. You have a well-known name, you have a well-known Irish name against a legit guy. Yeah, so
it's a good fight. Ion Kutalaba and Ankalev is going to be rebooked for UFC 249 following that controversial stoppage. Makes sense.
Be done really, yeah.
Yeah, Curtis Blades and Alexander Volkov is announced as the main event for UFC Saskatoon.
Saskatoon, yeah, good fight.
Curtis Blades on a run. I like it. Yeah. Corey Sandhagen, this is one I want to talk about a little bit.
One.
Corey Sandhagen has teased a fight with Dominic Cruz at UFC San Diego, co-main event. So the UFC San Diego, so that could be Dustin Poirier, Dan Hooker, Sandhagen, Dominic Cruz.
Would be a big fan of that.
Take
card,
my money, UFC.
Yeah.
My face is lit up.
That'd be very good.
Hell
of a fight for Cruz to come back to if it's true.
Man, Cruz is a fucking savage, though, isn't he?
Animal.
Absolute savage. I love that fight. I love Sandhagen.
Yeah.
I think Cruz is excellent too. So that's all I want to say. I want to talk about that when we get to it. Hopefully it gets announced. But that's all the news I have, Sean. Anything else?
Nothing from me, man.
Let's get on to some fan questions because we have loads and there's some good ones. So now it's time for your questions. My favourite part of the show. First up, Sean, we have threat level midnight. Do you guys think Israel handled the crowd reaction as well as he should have? He gives his opinion on it, but we'll talk about it. You can read it on the screen if you want from threat level. What's your thoughts on this, Sean? Do you think that Israel maybe didn't handle himself with the crowd or handle himself towards the crowd as well as he should have in this fight or after the fight?
I'm not sure where I stand on this. I have mixed opinions.
Okay.
Like I think I've seen in the past where I think it was the Whittaker fight where he he was getting booed while he was getting interviewed. I don't think the crowd were necessarily booing him at the time. There was something like that. I can't even remember exactly, but I think sometimes he does. With regards to flipping off the audience, I wouldn't agree with that personally. I mean, the fans are going to tell you what they perceive as value for money at the end of the day, and they would probably thought they're probably right. They didn't get value for money in that fight in particular. But at the end of the day, he's also the one getting in there and putting it on the line. So I wouldn't go to a fight anyway and boo someone who's got in the cage. That's not for me. But I also, as a fighter, probably wouldn't flip off the guys who are paying the hard-earned money to see them. So I think that's a double-edged sword, that one.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I know what you mean. I think that sometimes he does misread the crowd. I think they were booing the fight rather than him here.
Yeah, 100%.
But then still to him, he looks at that as a slight on himself, so I can understand why he was upset with that. Like, I'm kind of mixed on this whole crowd thing, and we kind of spoke about this a little bit earlier on in the show, because on one hand you have guys going in there who are essentially risking their lives, and at the end of the day, we spoke about it last week, they are paid based on if they win for the most part. A lot of these guys have win show money.
They're not paid on entertainment value.
Exactly, they're not paid for entertainment unless you get some kind of fight of the night, so there is that, but that's not guaranteed.
I mean, you can argue as well, you do get paid long run as in more entertainment, but you know what I mean.
I mean, it's nuanced. There's some nuance to it, but they need to look after themselves as well. They need to win the fight. But then on the other hand, it is the entertainment business as well. It's not just a sport. It is sports entertainment in a way. So you do need to give that excitement. And I'll never tell somebody, you should have enjoyed that fight. But also I would say, don't boo the guys.
Yeah, I would any sporting event really, I'd never pay my money to go in and just boo someone. Really. Whether even if you think you got poor value for money, I think people sometimes forget what they're putting on the line when they get in the cage. So I personally wouldn't pay my money to go in and boo them. I also wouldn't. I'd be very careful before flipping the audience off like that if I was Adesanya as well.
Yeah, I agree. Move on.
Next question. Cejudo Season says, do you think Cody Garbrandt can be a champ again? Do you want to go first on that?
Yeah, sure. I don't. I actually don't. And Cody Garbrandt is a weird fighter to me because there was one fight, the fight against Dominic Cruz, where he looked like a different fighter. I mean, he went in there and he out-technicaled Dominic Cruz, if that's even a word. Yeah, if that's even a word. And he looked phenomenal. But aside from that fight, that was a really that was an exception rather than a rule.
Yeah, it seems to be.
And I just have not seen Cody Garbrandt do that again. And if Cody Garbrandt fights the way he normally fights, kind of like Joanna and Wei Lee fought on the weekend, again, they fought well, but I mean, they just put it on the line. And if his chin isn't where it should be, which, there's debates on whether it doesn't seem to be, I just can't see it. And there's too many guys in that division. That division is fucking stacked.
That was going to be my point. I think there's too much ahead of it. Maybe in a thinner division. I think there's far. I mean, Aldo's somehow fighting for the title.
Yeah.
So you have Peter Yan, Aljamain Sterling, Moraes is probably ahead of him.
Corey Sandhagen.
Cruz is ahead of him. Sandhagen's ahead of him. See, Cruz and Sandhagen might be getting matched up.
Yes.
Yeah, there's far too many guys. He needs a lot to happen for him to get matched up.
I agree.
For a title.
Yeah, I agree. A long way back. Way back. Adrian Kapoor. Dana seems to blame Yoel for the fight, but I'd say the blame goes both ways. Even if Izzy is a counter striker, he doesn't have to be Izzy to choose to wait for Yoel as much as Yoel chose to wait for Izzy. Dana's idea that the challenger has to press the action is ridiculous, and that's why Yoel's to blame for the fight. I don't know about that. What do you think? Again, we kind of spoke about this earlier, but yeah, I think the blame, if you want to blame anybody for the fight not being exciting, I think it does have to go both ways. But again, you just have to realise that this is how both of these guys fight, and the risk was always there for this to be a boring fight. It just is what it is. And I can't blame either guy going out of their way to change their game plan to excite the crowd. I can't get behind that idea. So I do think it should go both ways. I don't think Romero is solely to blame for it, because Adesanya was also inactive for large portions of the fight. But I understand why they were both inactive. I do.
Yeah, like Yoel was giving out about Adesanya running away, and basically Yoel was giving out that Izzy didn't let him do what he wanted him to do.
Exactly, yeah.
And then we said it as well.
Adesanya done the same thing as well.
Yeah,
you know,
and then it just counters each other out.
Yeah,
it was always there for this fight. I think I do kind of lean more towards that as the fight was getting on, Yoel is the one who's going to have to push it here. Yeah, because Adesanya knew he was coasting to a decision. Really,
I agree with that one.
As a challenger, Yoel surely knows that I'm going to have to chase a knockout here. Yeah. We didn't really see that. Yeah. So that's how I would feel. I don't blame Yoel as such. Like Dana's very sensationalist in what he talks anyway, so I wouldn't buy too much into what he says. But yeah, the fight always had the potential for that, so I don't think anyone should have been too surprised. I was a little bit surprised that Yoel didn't push it more towards the end, but yeah.
Yeah, in the sense that the person who really needed to make the moves or make the changes to win the fight, that was Yoel. So if you want to blame that on Yoel, that he didn't make the adjustments to win, I think that's correct, because Adesanya at a certain point in the fight was just cruising, I think. So yeah, there is that.
Dave Little says, could the UFC benefit from a WrestleMania type event once a year and use it as a catalyst for getting some names out there when a lot of new eyes are on the product? I think the UFC can go to the next level when promoting a fight when it wants to, but just doesn't seem to bother as much with other fights. I'm taking a Fury Wilder as an example of what they should be doing: multiple press conferences and multiple chances for fighters to promote their fight. Thoughts?
Yeah, like I think the UFC kind of do this with the International Fight Week at times. Yeah, sorry, Sean. But not to the same level, obviously, as WrestleMania. Like WrestleMania is the WWE's like big kind of thing they're always leading to in the year, and I'm not against the idea of that happening. Like if they could build to an event, it's just kind of difficult with the way this sport works. Like you can't say we're building to this huge fight in July when potentially you don't have the guys to fill that card that you should. And I guess wrestling is the same. Like guys can't get injured, but it's quite different.
I get the point. I think it is. I do like the idea of International Fight Week being the biggest card of the year, and it generally tends to be. Yeah. That or the end of year one can be quite big as well, and there'll be 3 title fights and stuff. Everyone knows generally there'll be 1 or 2 cards a year with 3 title fights. The Fury Wilder one I think is an interesting one, because if you actually look at the numbers,
you told me about this.
I don't think they promoted that fight as well as they should have. They actually weren't even going to do press conferences. It was because of the pressure from the public. Yeah. The break-even point on pay-per-view sales for this fight, right, was 1.1 million. This is in America, where fights cost $80.
Something like that, yeah.
So you have to sell the standard pay-per-view sales in America are anywhere between 50k and 250k, 300k if you're really good. So their break-even point was 1.1 million. They did around 800k. So they did their bollocks on that fight, really.
88 million.
And this was a dual broadcast between ESPN and Fox. And it was all over ESPN and Fox. Yeah. So I think the best way to promote these fights is to have them do all these podcasts and interviews, and like putting like ESPN were promoting this fight on ESPN, or Bob Arum likes to say that, we put it out on ESPN on College Football Day where there's 800 million, like whatever stupid number of people watching. That's grand. These people are exposed to the fight. They know what's happening. Yeah. You're not necessarily going to get them to buy. Yeah. I don't know. I think the UFC does an alright job of getting pay-per-view buys compared to boxing.
Yeah, consistently.
Yeah, that's the thing. Consistently.
Yeah, they've built their name up where they can consistently make or consistently sell pay-per-views just off the back of their own name. But I think because of that, I think the UFC do get a little bit lazy with promotion. But I also think the problem is that they have so many events to sell.
Yeah.
Like if you look at
quality over quantity, quantity over quality.
Exactly. You just had a huge event last weekend, and now you're running right into another event this weekend. Now, granted, the one this weekend is a fight night, so there's different margins there. You don't need to promote it as much. It's not a pay-per-view. People can just watch it. But still, I think
they get lazy with pay-per-view sometimes as well.
They do. They absolutely do. And they will with pay-per-views coming up. Like, I mean, we spoke about this earlier on, Sean, about the Khabib and Tony fight. And, like, I think that the promotion for it has been okay. It hasn't been great. And I think they're just backing the fact that so many people want to see this fight. But really, if this was the UFC of the olden days,
you could turn it into a blockbuster,
or even boxing, where like these big fights just don't happen as much consistently, I think you could just the promotion for it could be amazing, and it just isn't that right now.
Yeah.
And that kind of worries me a little bit, but I think it's still going to do gangbusters.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. But yeah, Shane Desmond, am I crazy for enjoying the main event? 1-2-5 Romero, but I don't know. I'm not a judge. I don't think you're crazy.
No, I don't think you're crazy.
I didn't hate the main event.
I mean, it wasn't Ngannou and
Lewis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't Ngannou Lewis style stuff.
No.
Now. I mean, it was a chess match.
Yeah. It was
not a very active chess match, but
yeah, it was like objectively not exciting. That's what I'll say. It was not exciting, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. I enjoy plenty of non-exciting things. Like I'll watch films that are boring as F, but I enjoy them. I don't need excitement. This wasn't exciting, but you can enjoy it because there was a lot to like in it, I think.
Yeah. No, I don't think you're crazy for enjoying it. Yeah. I wouldn't call someone out for enjoying them.
No, and I wouldn't.
Each your own, man.
Exactly, and I wouldn't call someone out for not enjoying it. Like it wasn't the co-main event.
We'll see worse fights in our time.
100%. So yeah, it was fine.
Salvastola. I just rewatched Paulo's UFC fights. I assume he means Costa. Yeah. If Izzy doesn't catch him early, it's going to be a long night. How do you see the fight going?
Yeah, like Paulo Costa's weird because he's that guy who gets tired but can still finish.
Yeah.
And then one thing I noticed, and I've noticed this for a while with Izzy, is that he's not untouchable. He's, I wouldn't say very hittable, but he's hittable. Yeah. He puts himself in a position where he can get hit. Paulo Costa hits very hard.
He took a shot from Romero, to be fair.
He did, yeah. Like his chin seems to be very good.
Yeah.
But like we've seen in his last few fights,
Gastelum
caught him. Whitaker didn't catch him.
No, not really.
It was quick. And this one,
his legs are there to be hit as well.
Yeah, his legs are there to be hit. And Costa hits very hard. So like I can see why people are interested in looking at Costa as a potential upsetter for Adesanya.
I do think that fight is going to be a war.
Yes.
Like you could kind of see that Romero and Adesanya could be a bit of a chess match.
Yeah.
I think we can see there's being a war, to be honest, similar to the Gastelum fight. Dana said it, and I agree with Dana for once. So
yeah, and that's the problem with a lot of people saying that Izzy is boring because of this one thing. If you look at the evidence and you look at his fights, the ones that he was boring in were the ones that was kind of expected, or not expected, but at least it could have been. Like the Romero fight, that could have been boring.
Didn't have to be exciting.
It didn't have to be exciting for that fight to happen.
He wins fights, so he does at the end of the day.
Exactly. And then the other one was the Anderson Silva fight.
Yeah.
Whereas Anderson Silva fights,
that was quite an enjoyable fight. Actually,
it was, but a lot of people thought that Adesanya was like a boring fighter in that because he was counter fighting with a counter fighter, and that just sometimes doesn't work out how a lot of people hope it would. So yeah. This is two parts of the same question. The same people, two people asked the same thing, but I'm interested in this one. So Axiom Films and JJ asked essentially our thoughts on Dan Murgulata. Oh, fuck, I can't say Big Dan's name. As kind of coaching the fighters in the main event. Rogan and Anik also commented on this as the fight was happening. Thoughts. So this is something I noticed. So a couple of times in the fight, he said to the fighters, "Come on, let's fight." Which
you got to give the judge or the judges something to score.
That was the big one. He stopped them and he brought them together and said, "Let's go." You got to give the judges something to score. Which I think the problem was how he said it. I think that the words were the problem because essentially
you got to do something is what you would normally hear.
Yeah, essentially what he was asking for, activity, let's go. Which again, as a referee, you shouldn't be interjecting too much. But if guys aren't fighting, then I think the referee does have a job to do. The problem with this fight for me was that I would argue that a lot was happening even though a lot wasn't happening because there was a lot of setting up. There was a lot of feints. There was a lot of things happening in the background, and to tell a guy like Adesanya to engage against someone like Costa when clearly in the first round he got tagged for doing just that, I think that's a bit of a problem. And Dan, the big one here as well with Dan Miragliotta, got it this time, is that, do you remember the Stefan Struve fight?
Yes.
Against...
where he told him, come on, you're up on the cards.
Yeah, so he got dropped by a ball shot, wasn't it? Twice. And he was 2 rounds up, and it was coming to the end of the second round. And Dan went over to him because Struve was like, I don't know if I can continue. And he goes, listen, Struve, you're 2 rounds up. Let's go. Continued, gets finished in the same round. Yeah. It's like...
You're supposed to be totally objective here.
That shouldn't happen.
Yeah, like you got to give the judges something to score. That's very much a fan statement, not a fan as such, but it's more a casual statement.
Yeah.
Whereas the line would normally be, that I've always heard from refs, would be, I got to see some action.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what he was trying to say there.
Yeah.
But I think he used the wrong words.
Yeah. The Struve one was very bad in my opinion.
I agree with that.
That was very bad.
Yeah.
He's not there to tell a fighter what he should and shouldn't do. Well, in that sense, in that context, he's not there to tell a fighter what he should and shouldn't do. He's just there to tell him, you have 5 minutes. Do you want to continue? Yes or no? Yeah.
And he shouldn't say that you're up 2 rounds.
No,
and I know
absolutely not, because he doesn't know the cards.
He didn't know the cards anyway, but he shouldn't give his opinion on the scorecards. That was insane.
Yeah, really bad.
And to be honest, Big Dan, I think, is a great referee for the most part. Yeah. I really do. But yeah, moving on. Max B, are you still a fan of Romero after that fight? I'm not. He could be the champ, but chooses not to use his wrestling and all, and barely uses his striking. He said in an interview that he does not train hard anymore. So if it's cardio thing, then maybe he should train hard. I still like Romero. Romero has always fought like this. He's a weird fighter. He's a counter puncher who doesn't use his wrestling, and when he fights somebody who's aggressive, he's fun.
Yeah, like at this stage of his career, he's not going to change. We know what we're going to get with him. So at this stage, I wouldn't be not a fan of him anymore. You know what you're going to get. He doesn't have the cardio to go 5 rounds wrestling. So
that's what I think as well.
If that's what he thinks, fair enough.
Yeah,
it's up to you, man.
Yeah, I don't think we learned that new this time. I really don't.
Audio files. What do you think? What do you think it is about Tony that gets under Khabib's skin in a way Conor never could? I don't think Tony gets under Khabib. I think Conor fairly got under Khabib's skin. I think they both got under each other's skin.
Yeah, I think people are forgetting that. I think they both got under each other's skin.
I feel like Khabib kind of just looks at Tony and says, "You crazy man."
Yeah, did you hear him at the press conference? It was hilarious. It was like, this guy, he's like a good fighter, but he's like stupid. Yeah. I love the way he talks.
I think Khabib is just a little bit like, what the fuck is going on with this guy?
He's like everybody. Like, if you had a mate like Tony Ferguson, let's be honest, I love Tony Ferguson because he's crazy, he's a great fighter. Yeah. But like, if you had a mate talking the way Tony Ferguson talks, you'd be like, well, he's talking absolute nonsense. Yeah. So Khabib doesn't buy into the whole Tony Ferguson's, this great fighter and he's so funny. Yeah. He's like, who is this guy? He's talking.
This guy crazy.
He's a lunatic. Yeah. So yeah, I think they both did a little bit, but important thing, I don't think that means that it's going to affect him in the fight.
I don't think so. Khabib doesn't fight with his emotions.
No.
Who do you think would win in a potential fight between Zhang and Rose? Ooh. Any MMA mats going here?
Yeah, let's do the MMA mats. No, that's not.
Rose beat Joanna twice. Joanna arguably beat Zhang. Where'd you go with this? I don't know. I'd like to see that fight.
I'd love to see that fight. Yeah, there's so many good permutations at this weight. I think
that division especially, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I'd favour Zhang, but
it's hard not to really.
Yeah, I think with this division, there's so many people who can beat so many people, and mats 100% does not work in this one.
Yeah, I think Rose is a very live dog in that one.
Yeah, I agree.
Zanebrem, next fight for Sean O'Malley. No pressure to answer all my questions. Take whichever one of you guys like. Yeah, next fight for Sean O'Malley. He called out someone, didn't he?
Did he call out somebody? I honestly don't know. I'd need to pull up the rankings, which I don't have in front of me. But I was very impressed with Sean O'Malley. Yeah. I don't think he should be stepped up too much straight away.
He's just back, so.
He's just back. Give him another guy in a similar vein to who he fought. Very impressed, though.
Just get him active again, really.
Get him active, yeah, 100%.
Was Yoel's strategy bad? He could have knocked Israel out with that left hand in round 1. What would the perception be then? I think I don't think you could say he could have knocked him out. I mean, Izzy took the shot, so yeah. I mean, shoulda, woulda, coulda. What would the perception be if he sparked him? So
yeah, like again, we spoke about it. It's hard to say his strategy was bad because, to be honest, this is how he's had a lot of his success. So I don't think so. I think in hindsight, you could say he could have done some other things, but who knows if they would have worked. He could have tried to be aggressive and got knocked out.
I think he could have pushed a little bit more.
I agree with that.
That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's it, Rob.
Great stuff. What a show, Sean, and what a card on the weekend. I mean, it wasn't The most impressive main event, I enjoyed some of it, but the co-main event probably was the best women's fight in history, and to be honest, probably one of the better fights in the UFC in a long time. So I cannot wait for the fight this weekend. Kevin Lee might be on a resurgence. Oliveira, he's always counted out, but man, he's a good fighter.
Still hanging around.
So we'll be back to talk about it next week, but make sure you leave your comments on everything we talked about in the comments below, and subscribe to us on our Podbean feed, which you can find us at afewgoodfights.com, because we need you there. So